And back again for another episode of the Top Rugby Show, the Umbro Pro Rugby Show. Joined as always by Mikey Mike, our sexy Pom. What's happening, man? How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
I'm good. I'm fucking sore, man.
I know why
So
you're sore.
sore.
We'll get into it, mate. But yeah, mate, I'm good. I enjoyed watching the rugby on the weekend. There was a lot to catch up on. My notes are full, and I've got a talking point I want to ask you about today.
Yes.
We'll get into that a little bit later, but I'm intrigued to see or hear your take on this. So
Absolutely, I love it. That's what people come for is our takes on rugby. Like we say, we're two tens that know everything about rugby, or we think we know everything about rugby. Man, every week it gets closer to Rugby World Cup. I'm like, oh, but every week too, more and more players are getting injured. And I'm like,
yeah,
fuck, that must suck so much. There's
yeah,
that fine line, isn't it, between playing, like, obviously there's, like we've been saying, there's no dead rubbers. It is warm-up games, but it is a test. So these guys are giving it their all. But in the back of the head, surely it must be like, ooh, I don't want to get injured for fucking World Cup.
Well, I think that mentality as well. 9 times out of 10, you do get injured. But I agree, mate. Like it's, for a lot of people, it's 4 years in the making to then just, weeks out get an injury. But injuries, people being left out of squads, mate. It's going to put a spanner in the works for a lot of teams. So it's going to be exciting, mate. Not for those individuals. I feel really sorry for them, but going into the World Cup is going to be interesting.
I feel injured from neck down. We got the Mighty Seahorses got booted out of the Hunter Rugby finals by 1 point. A lot happened, man. There was red cards. There was fucking missed kicks from yours truly. We lost by 1 point. I missed 2 penalties, so that's 6 points. We also then,
mate, listen,
two tries that weren't given.
Yeah.
Fucking.
And also, was it the last play of the game they scored? Did I see?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Now let me ask you because we've talked about this from a kicker's perspective. Like, for one, being knocked out is not fun.
No.
Now, you're an experienced player. Yep. You've been in that huge game. You've missed 2 kicks.
Yep.
You said it. You've lost by 1 point. There's a lot of other things that happen during the game that contribute to that. How are you feeling now as an experienced player, having missed 2 kicks in such an important game? Like, how did you deal with that, or did you blame yourself? Did you not?
No, so I think I blamed myself for like a minute and then to get over it, because it's gone, man. There's really nothing you can do about it. And even when I lined up I kicked the first kick and I was like, oh, I didn't hit that nice. Then I looked up and I was like, turn, and it didn't turn. And I was like, I really need to concentrate for the next kick. Next kick come around, and then I turned it too much. So I pushed the first one and then I hooked the second one. And then I'm like, okay, that's 2 errors now. You need to now just rail everything, bring it back in, because like we spoke earlier about when Carter Gordon missed or kicked a few like shitty kicks and missed a few kicks at goal. And obviously this is a different level. So I'm just talking from my perspective now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can, as a 10 and as the kicker, then like your game can derail where you're the quarterback, man. There's so many facets to your game that you need to be switched on in. And I think I did for a bit there, try and be too involved in the game. And that's where it coincided with me missing those 2 kicks as well. So it's like, just calm down, get back to what you need to do, distribute, talk. And next kick, like my kicks to touch were all good. Next kick is a lot closer, and I kicked that over, and it's a little confidence booster, man. But it's up to you to kind of, I feel like, realize in that moment, like, okay, this can go one of 2 ways. It can either keep going shit, realize it's shit, or realize it's shit and then figure it out and kind of bring it back to basics and just.
Well, I think the upside of being a 10 and a kicker is you can thrive in those environments and you can really impress moments. But at the end of the day, it's your job to kick it. We're not going to kick every single goal, but it's such an isolated moment, a goal kick, where all eyes are on you. You can go back to scrummages and see props potentially not doing their job properly, collapse scrum, penalty, it's forgotten about. Whereas a kicker, you miss a kick, all eyes are solely on you. You miss that kick, and people see that. People go ask collapse scrum, penalty, and you blame the pack. You don't blame the prop. Do you know what I mean? Whereas it's such a intense, isolated moment as a goal kick. You know that their team, your team, supporters, their supporters, all eyes are on you. So, people are going to remember the missed kicks. Whereas as a kicker, I used to think about the events in the game that led up to that moment that I maybe missed that kick and gone, well, I'm in the spotlight right here, but what about that missed tackle or that? I'm not blaming others for your missed kick, but I'm just saying, like, it's very isolated. It's quite an unfair moment, I guess, in terms of a rugby game.
And like you said, in saying that, if I kicked them over and we ended up winning, I'll be like, I'm the first one to take all the glory, man. Did you see all that? Did you see all my
that's
kicks?
it.
But in saying that, like, I scored the try that put us 6 points ahead. So I'm like, oh, fuck, this is it. There was 3 minutes left. And then we fucked it. So kudos to Wanderers. I do want to add on to something, and it was part of and this kind of segues into our play-ons and knock-ons for the week. And this was part of your play on or knock on a couple of weeks ago, where you said play on or knock on about kind of holding grudges after a game and kind of wanting to, like, I don't know, have beef after a game. Shout out to fucking 2 Wanderers players who thought they wanted to fucking have a bit of lip after the game. Man, I'm the biggest lip giver during a game, and I take it as well because I love it. That's part of my game. When the game's done, I'm mates with everyone, man. And these 2 idiots. I hope
was it directed at you?
Yeah. And they wanted to have a bit of a fucking lip after the game. I was like, mate, you guys won the game. What are you on about? Everyone else was shaking hugs. I'm like, mate, good luck for next week. And these 2 fucking idiots just wanted to. Anyway, it's like that's one thing, and that's the first thing I thought about was when you brought it up.
Yeah,
man, honestly, when that whistle goes, I'm everyone's mate. It's like
that's not cool. That
yeah.
Carry on. Oh no, I was just going to say, you see bigger moments in huge games on television where players are, you watch Origin and their teammates. Origin, rugby league, they're all over each other. International, rugby union, then they go back to their clubs. They're into each other. But at the end of the day, when that whistle goes, mate, it's all part of the game. If you can get into their head verbally, so be it. But you don't carry on after me. That's almost, it's gonna, a bit of a soccer mentality, I feel.
Small dick energy. That's what I.
100%. Yeah, that's a bit rough, man. 100%. No, I agree, mate. I agree. There's no place for that in rugby. It happens, but geez, it's not a good look.
Yeah. But oh well. They move on. So they play Maitland next week to see who goes into the grand final. So
we're back in Maitland now then? We're back in Maitland?
100%. 100%. 100%. Even though it's going to be it's like the 3 clubs that no one likes that are in. It's like, fuck, we don't want anyone to win. But Maitland win. And if Green's gone to win back-to-back, man, that's massive. They've come off the back of losing a whole round of footy, like 5 games in a row, where they've come now to where it matters, and they've won. They beat Maitland. So they're in the second grand final in 2 years. So, man, if they go back-to-back, fucking well done.
Fair play to them. Fair play.
Yeah, club that we hate to love. Or love to hate, whatever it is. All right, moving on. So, is the baton on to you for play on a knock?
Me, mate. This week? It's on me, mate. I've got a couple. I've got 2 rugby related ones and one bit of everyday thing. All right, so play on or knock on. This is something that I thought of a while ago because I've got this item in my kicking bag, but bringing in balls of extra grip. Now, I was given a ball by a company who distributes balls. They've got a wet weather ball, so it's pretty much the same as a match ball, but the little dimples of the grip on the ball. So it's that, but in the center of that, they've got like a tiny little nipple.
Yeah,
should I say?
Yeah.
And it's not obvious. It's not like this furry ball. It's just an extra grippy ball. Play on or knock on. Bring in grippy balls and wet weather rugby.
Knock on.
Really?
Gilbert is the standard. I don't want anyone trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yep.
And if you can't catch a normal Gilbert ball that's got normal grip on, then sorry.
There was
part of the game.
There's a bit of chat around this in rugby league as well, but I did hear it in rugby union. I think the match balls, Gilbert match balls, even in the wet, are super grippy for me personally. Like even as a 10, and we're catching the ball a lot. But there was talk about this, and I wondered. I asked somebody else about this, and they said no way as well. So it's just interesting because if it did come in, it would be a blanket rule. It would be used. But yeah, I'm with you. So it's a knock on for that.
Yeah, knock on. No, there's no discussion. I feel like.
Yep. All right, knock on or play on. Now this one annoys the hell out of me, and it's the delay in play for foul play. So we've got a referee, we've got big screens, and then we've got the TV match official. Now for me, when I was playing back in the day, even on TV, there's just, you got potentially the big screen, but you've just got 2 touch judges and a referee. Now, these days, they have got that big screen. They watch the replay back. The delay in time of a penalty, going upstairs, players just standing around and then making a call, knock on or play on, should referees be making the decision themselves on the field rather than going upstairs and wasting 2 or 3 minutes?
I say play on, as in there should be a timer. There's a timer with everything else. There's a timer for a kicker. There's a timer for a line out, for scrums, fucking everything. Why can't there be a timer for that? In saying that, yes, I get sometimes it's hard and you really want to nail because it can really alter the whole game, especially if you're sending a red card or something like that. But yeah, I think there should be a timer on that. I think here's a little my tinfoil hat on. The whole putting it up on the big screens is going to play a massive role in the World Cup this year because of how the crowd and everyone reacts to it, and because of who is putting it up on the big screen. Because the refs could miss something. Yeah. Someone could be playing a replay, just constantly playing a replay, and that gets the refs' attention. I think there's more to play at that with getting the crowd involved. And I get that I think it is the TMOs that play the replays, but there has been chat around, especially in France, where it's a French TMO and they play all kinds of things on the replay, and the crowd gets involved, and it becomes a whole thing. So that's kind of my foil hat. It'll be very interesting to see who the TMO is, where it comes from, what countries are playing, and what gets put up on the big screen.
I think this isn't about me. This is your answers, but I just feel like the referee, there was never an issue before. As they brought in more technology, it just seems to be a bit more complicated. I feel how it should be is the referee makes a call. You can watch the replay on the big screen. There's a 60, 90-second time limit. And then if the match review committee after see a foul play, sanction that player after, rather than make players stand on the field and the crowd. You hear the crowd booing 9 times out of 10. So I'm like, hurry up, we can see it. So I just wanted to get your take on that, because it does slow the game down. Obviously the players aren't cooling down, but it's like it can take a while at times. So
it can break momentum for sure. 100%. Yeah.
100%. All right, mate. And then the third one, bit of an everyday thing.
Yes.
Knock on or play on. Runners who jog on the spot at traffic lights when the lights are red. Because to me, it's like, I understand. I've ran before, and I know when you stop, it can be painful. But runners who jog on the spot at traffic lights to cross the road, knock on or play on.
I say knock on because you look like an absolute bellend. I think
legit you do.
I get those because I always notice that they look at their watch. So obviously it's the heart rate going, but I'd love to get a physician or someone on and be like, surely that's not doing anything to your heart rate, because then I could just stand at home and jog on the spot. Like, I don't think it's going to do anything to your heart rate.
Look, it's a huge ick. A massive ick was unlocked when I used to see it. But anyway, I was just like, I know what it's like when you run long distance. Well, I'm a long distance runner, but I have done it. And then you stop, your legs can cramp up, and you want to keep moving, but it just looks awful. It looks so bad.
I would almost rather time it to then kind of weave through the traffic.
Run back on yourself 20 meters and then come back.
There we go. Do a couple of shuttles. Let's not stand in one spot. Come on, joggers, be better. I love that one. Yeah, that's good. All right, that was a great little. I love the non-rugby knock-ons and play-ons.
Yeah, same. Hey, because you don't know what's coming. With rugby, it can be quite serious. Yeah, the everyday thing. Yeah.
That's love it. All right, there's plenty to talk on. We're just going to like swift through the review. So we'll do Scotland or France and Scotland, which is a fucking humdinger of a game. And then England and Wales, where there was a lot happening. And then we'll kind of get through those. And then there's a lot of talking points that we really want to get to. So France, Scotland, 30-27 to France. Obviously, talk about like kicking your kicks and that, and penalties as well. There's a scrum penalty that got the kick like in the end, and Ramos isn't missing, man. Like even Finn Russell's been striking them nicely, but Ramos, man, just off the tee, he's got to love the plain, simple run up to the ball and just kicks it, and he's kicking it beautifully. It's
Yeah,
just
he's very another natural kicker of the ball, effortless. It's
yeah.
quite, you know, frustrating to watch because so many people put so much effort into their kicking. But yeah, it's like poetry in motion watching him kick. And this was a great game. I didn't know what to expect. Scotland have improved so much over the last, 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And France are always dangerous. They had their slump a few years ago, but always dangerous. Their backs always run from so much depth. They run onto the ball. I was really, really impressed with France. But saying that, I was also extremely impressed with Scotland as well. And look, this game came down to a collapsed scrum at the end of the day.
Yes.
But I think Scotland, for the first time in a long time, have found a very good balance across their whole team. You know, there's no position there that's lacking. It's a complete team, and now it's about performing together. But super impressed from both teams.
I'm calling Scotland's my B team. Scotland's my B team. They've got 2 South
Okay.
Africans on the wings and 2 South Africans in the front
That was
row.
written down. I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah. And those guys are so instrumental in their play, in their game, and they go forward. Obviously, the scrums. I mean, that Piers Skuman and Vierpier Nel, they're scrumming, obviously, one. That's like why they're in there. But their ball carries as well, so strong, always getting over that finish line. And then same goes for the 2 wingers, Duan van der Merwe and Kyle Steyn. Big bodies, deceptively quick.
Very quick, yeah.
Always beating the first defender, no matter where they are. If they're riding, hugging the touchline, Duan van der Merwe that many times comes under the center or cuts back in and takes 4 or 5 guys with him every single time.
And they're good finishers as well, which is, again, just touching on what I just said, a complete team, complete players. And also, you know, our chat on forwards is unreal, mate. Just shout out to our forward knowledge, man, every week. But just looking at the, Ali Price, Finn Russell, I think that combination at 9 and 10, that needs to be firing in the World Cup. If that team are going to operate, I mean, Finn Russell's world class. He's proven that over the last few years. I think if Price and Finn Russell can stay fit throughout this World Cup, Scotland are going to be a team that are going to shock a few nations, I feel, because, you know, even in the Six Nations growing up, Scotland was the easier game for English and when we went up to Murrayfield or at Twickenham, it was just that game that you knew you were going to win. But the last few years, mate, they just got talent all over the park. What's his name? Tui Pelotu in the centre, a big ball carrier. Like, they haven't really had that in the past. Mate, like I said, they held themselves with France, and France are on form as well, and they look dangerous. So it's gonna be really, really interesting. I'm really excited to see these matchups where previously you would have gone, here's a clear winner. And now you're like, wow, what's gonna happen?
And I think that's happening. It's kind of equalizing across the board with the rugby. And I think we're going to see definitely a couple of upsets now. This will be the first World Cup where that new laws come in, especially helping the island or the Polynesian teams. So those guys are all stacked as well. That would always, like in the past, be, yes, a tough game, but you know you would win it eventually.
Yeah.
But now it's like, fuck, you need to be playing your A team all the time.
I don't know. I just heard, you might know this, I'm not too sure. Untermack, is he being ruled out of the World Cup?
I was just about to touch on that. So ACL injuries out for the World Cup.
So I literally had written down. So I had Dupont and Untermack as another 9 and 10 combination.
Combo. Yeah.
And then I went onto Instagram and I saw some, and it, you know how Instagram loads and it disappears. I'm like, shit, what page was that? And it was something about Untermack. I was like, because him in particular, I remember watching his dad play against Johnny Wilkinson.
Yes.
To see him and Dupont together, mate, they're gold together. They work so well, and that was something I was really looking forward to. But yeah, gutting, man. I didn't realize it was Untermack who was out.
I think it shows also so much how important it is that in certain positions, certain combinations, when those guys are playing together at club level as well, how that transfers. And I think quite a few teams go for those combinations. I mean, it makes sense. Like in Rugby 08, it would have the green chemistry. And
that's right.
And that's what, like Dupont and Ntamak, those two together, that's green chemistry all the way, man. But I do think that Dupont is that class of a player. You could almost throw a fucking proper 10 and they'll be sweet.
I do, yeah. You're bang on with that. He's next level. I do think out of all the combinations in a rugby team, I think the 9 and 10 combination has to be clicking and working so well for anyone else to operate. But mate, that guy Dupont, just so much time on the ball. Like, his decision making under pressure is Yeah, it's just crazy. He floated a ball over to the winger, Punu, I think his name is
Yeah,
Punu.
yeah.
Anyway, and then there was a grubber kick for it. It ended in a try that wasn't awarded, but just his vision. And again, you got to remind yourself at the level they're playing at. This is international rugby, and you don't see that at schoolboy level or club level. And he's just one of those players who's a pleasure to watch. Very natural on the ball, very relaxed, makes the right decisions at the right time. Just all class. He oozes class. That guy.
I think it's this. You'll see the evolution. Like rugby goes through phases where sometimes the forwards game is like that's what's winning you games, or sometimes your kicking game and that's what's winning you games. And then it's the 1-3-3-1, like that style of play, like your forwards spread across.
Yep.
And rugby kind of goes through like these evolutions of play. And I think France, with these young crop of players that are coming through, are bringing this new evolution of just confidence and reading the game that we, like us as spectators or people that have been watching rugby forever, we're like, only after they've done their magic play, we're like, oh, it makes sense that he's done that. But they're playing like they're seeing like 2 or 3 phases into the future and just doing it with ease and with confidence, man. And it's great to watch.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. I think the old school way of playing rugby is very structured, which it still is to some extent, but very structured. And this is how we're going to play. This new breed of players coming through, the new young generation, they just have this freedom to just do whatever. They read what's in front of them. They got no fear, these kids. Or I say kids, I'm sounding old now, but this younger generation, they've got no fear in what they do. They back themselves. And I think that's what leads to this exciting brand of rugby, especially that France have played for so many years now, is just that. No fear.
Yep.
We make a mistake, we'll get back up and we'll battle back on. But like, yeah, it was mate, I don't know. I really enjoyed that France Scotland game. I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed it. It was really good.
It was good. And yeah, obviously very unfortunate for Intermac to be injured. And like I said, man, I don't think it matters who comes in there. It'll obviously give a little bit of a dent. But I think they'll be strong enough to really make a mark on this year's World Cup. But in saying that, so it is the 10 position, and I don't know where did I write it down? Oh, I think it was going to be around the chat about Quade Cooper being left out of the World Cup. I'm just going to keep going with it. Every year, every time a team has won a World Cup, where am I here? They've had an experienced 10 playing. So we're going back to the first one. So New Zealand, Grant Fox, everyone knows him. Michael Liner the next time for Aussies. Joel Stransky for Springboks. Stephen Larkham for the Wallabies. Johnny Wilco, I mean, fucking household name. Butch James, not the best kicker, but man, he'd been there. He'd been like there for ages. I would say not the best kicker, but man, in that World Cup, kicked really well out of hand. Stephen Donald, which was at the time the 4th string.
Oh, yeah.
Colin Slade, Aaron Cruden, and Dan Carter.
Cruden, that's right.
So Stephen Donald was still a household name, very experienced in the position. Dan Carter, 2015, and Andre Pollard, 2019. These are all household names in their position.
Yeah.
I think it's like looking forward, you have to be set. And you said it before, your 9 and 10 have to be experienced for you to do well in the World Cup.
It just proves that what those names you've just rattled off just proves the importance of a number 10 in a team. And I'm not saying that because I was a number 10, but you remember, everyone knows those names. You try and remember the center or the winger that was playing in that game, not so much. It just goes to prove that 9 and 10s, but 10s especially, if you haven't got a solid foundation there, look, I'm not saying it can't work, but it will definitely, if they're in that team or in that squad, it's I don't know. Yeah, it's huge. And I don't know.
We might have to do a deep dive into, because the only one that pops off the top of my head is like Dan Bigger. Who else has got like over 80 caps at 10? That's fit. That's going to play. Mwanga maybe is the next one.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? Yeah, it's. I mean, 100. I see Pollard. He's been doing a bit of training, but I don't know how. I don't know how that's going to go. So,
well, I'm hoping maybe. I wouldn't surprise me if France have got someone who just slots in there. But besides the point, we talk about experience in those big moments of World Cups. Like, you can't replace that. You can't replace that. I don't know if you wanted to carry on talking about that. Did you want to go to the Wallabies game or your?
Oh, there was. Well, no, it was the England Wales game. Wallabies did. I don't think they played.
Sorry, England, Wales. Sorry, no, I was getting caught
Yeah.
up on that Quade Cooper because I'd written down about that Quade Cooper moment, and I don't know if you're going to talk about that later. It blows my mind. But yeah, did you want to get? We'll go into England, Wales, because I'll touch on
and
that
then we'll get into that. Yeah.
for sure. But look, look, England, Wales again. Improvement. I sit here as an Englishman thinking, where are we going to be in this World Cup? And the honest answer is I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't. It scares me at times how we're playing. We've got experience there. We've got youth there. Is it clicking right now? No. Yeah. We beat Wales. Yes. Is it convincing? No. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd love to sit here and say England are looking good. England are looking threatening. Bluntly put, they're not. But yeah, I mean, Owen Farrell, like we go back to goal kickers, Owen Farrell, I don't know what his sanction's going to be over that high shot. That aside, solid goal kicker, another example of a really good goal kicker in a team, under pressure, done it for the British Lions, done it for England, done it for his club for years now. And then on top of that, you bring in, George Ford when he comes on. And if you're listening and you're a kicker or you're not a kicker and you want to see the picture perfect routine when it comes to kicking, please watch George Ford. I mean, there's no perfect way to do it. Everyone's got their own way, but him, if you're going to teach someone to kick, mate, I've watched that guy kick from 40 meters on the angle, and he just picks his tee up and runs away. He trusts the process that much, keeps his head down, picks his tee up, and he'll either listen to the crowd go up or the crowd go, oh, because he just trusts it. And that is so important. I talk about it a lot with goal kicking, not bringing your head up too early because you can spray your kick. The guy is a living example of what an ideal goal kicking routine should be. And he's, I think, again, going back to what I was just saying, the solid nature of both of them in their goal kicking, we can go into that World Cup going, okay, we've got a longer range goal kicker, we've got a shorter range goal kicker, and that's going to be important. I think a lot of teams, as we've already touched on, need that in their squad going into this World Cup.
100%. I do want to give, you're saying, you're not too sure where England are going to go in the World Cup, and that's fair because they haven't really put their foot down in the sense of like how they're going to play. But they were at one stage 3 men in the bin, and they still kind of clawed their way back to win. So I think if anything, it just show a bit of grit and a bit of a will to win there, I guess.
It does. And also, mate, I don't know if you heard it, that was the most capped England team squad ever.
Wow.
Ever in English rugby. Right. So that is the most, it was, hang on, let me pull it up because this stat, there are 1,067 caps in the England 23.
Wow.
Mate, but this is what I'm saying. It's not convincing at the moment. They could click, but there's so much experience there. Yeah. There is so much experience there. And the only thing that concerns me about, I can relate back to 2003 where we won the World Cup against the Wallabies. That team leading up to World Cup had been together for, let's say, 4 or 5 years. There were barely any injuries. Everyone knew each other inside out, back to front. We went into that World Cup. It resonated into the World Cup as well. And then after that World Cup, it fell apart. Players retired from international duty. Then we rebuilt again. And it was, looking back, it's been a struggle ever since, apart from that World Cup final with you guys. It has been a struggle, but it shows the importance of consistency, showing faith in players as well going into a World Cup. And I think that's what led us to win that 2003 World Cup, was just a consistency of players and having faith in them as well.
And maybe it might just be it needs that last little bit of tinkering of how to play and gain chemistry. And man, because like you said, like that many caps in a team, you should be linking up and playing well together.
You'd hope so.
Shout out to Van Portfleet. Shame, poor bugger, ankle, and he's out for the World Cup as well. So it'll be interesting to see who they bring in. I mean, they've got two in Youngs and Danny Kerr, very experienced there, but you want to bring someone in Young with a bit of energy.
So they're going to do a job. Youngs and Kerr now. I can't literally. I'm thinking of Andy Gummerson. I'm thinking of Matt Dawson now. I can't even remember who played 9 before these two. They've been around forever. So that's a positive. But I do feel for him, young lad in form.
Yep.
Yeah, poor bloke, man. But he'll be back.
All right. Talking points. Owen Farrell. We are going to touch on this. This, unfortunately for him, isn't his first time that this has happened. Coincidence or not, I don't think it is a coincidence. There's obviously a lot of talk online about it. My problem with it is firstly, just joking around, mate, double down, fucking go higher if you're going to tackle high. And it's on a more serious note.
Yeah.
Like, my thing with it is yes, you can say the guy tripped into the tackle or it happens in a split second. And yes, that is all true. But you can see where he's starting his tackle. It's not what they tell you at under 8s, under 9s, where it is cheek to bum, down low, hip, head on the side. Like he's starting his tackle standing up. And I think that's where the problem is. World Rugby, they are now backs against the wall. They have to do something about it because it's not the first time this has happened with him. And he's got off lightly previously. So
his dad's a famous, well-known rugby league player. He comes from a rugby league background. That mentality of stand-up tackle, wrap them up, hit them high.
Yep.
Like you said, he's been playing union long enough to know, mate. He hasn't been the most disciplined player. He plays with his heart on his sleeve, though. He's so passionate, and he can put shots on when he needs to. But I think we've talked about this. Like, you need to control yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're going into a World Cup, and yeah, you can argue the guy was falling or whatever, but this will lead on to what I'm going to talk about at the end, mate, because it fascinates me that, you know, these players are playing week in, week out, and still, I mean, is it are the rules too tight? Is it, I don't know. Yes, it was a high tackle. Again, referee, yellow card, all of a sudden, the camera goes on the referee, red card. He's sitting on the bench. I knew he probably thought he was going to get a red card once it was reviewed. But again, it's like, you've seen the replay, you've got a yellow card. Oh, now you sat on the bench, but now you've got a red card.
Yeah.
He needs to control himself, mate, because let me tell you, we need Owen Farrell in that team for the World Cup.
Yeah. All things I've heard of players talking on podcasts and talking post-match interviews, he sounds like the guy you want in your team. Like inspirational wise, just that leader, like an old head on a young body, like has been there. He's been playing international rugby now for over 10 years.
Yeah.
So he sounds like the guy you need in your team, but he can't be let, like, imagine that was like the final or semi-final. You know what I mean? So
it's just something that's been in his game for a long time. And I feel like at a stage there, he controlled it, but it could be, I don't know what he's going to get for it, but he needs to stay on the park.
It'll come out this week. They'll have to jump on it soon because, I mean, I don't know if you're on Twitter and that, but people are outraged, man. People are outraged.
At what?
At what happened on, like, at his high tackle.
The tackle, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's if it was a one-off thing, fine, but like when it is an ongoing thing, and again, you're an experienced player, we're going into a World Cup. Control yourself, you know, like it's a tough one, but you know, he knows how to play rugby, mate. He's been there, done it. He's, like you said, he's been around the game for a long time now at that level, and he's been in huge pressure moments. So if he's, you know, playing in this World Cup, we need him to wherever we end up, whether we win the World Cup or we get knocked out in the pool stages, like he needs to be on that field.
Need him, yeah. Or World Rugby need to bring in one person on every team is not allowed to tackle, and then he can be that person. Change it up, man. Leave Farrell alone. The rules.
I remember do you remember a guy called Trevor Leota?
Yes, I hear the name rings a bell. Yep.
So he was 5'0", pretty much, built like an absolute machine. He played for Wasps. I think he was Tongan, banned from tackling at training. Now, if anyone's watching and you don't know who Trevor Leota is, please YouTube him. You've never seen a human who looks so thick, heavy, and just beast mode-ish than Trevor Leota. He used to hit like like legit. I remember we played Wasp. Listen to this. We played Wasp and second team, and he was on the team sheet coming back from injury. And I'm this 75 kilo, you know, just fly half, thinking, are you kidding me? Anyway, he didn't end up playing, but I can tell you that whole bus journey up, I was absolutely cacking myself. Like, I swear, like, he wouldn't have just injured me, mate. He legit would have put me in hospital. Period. Like, he's just an absolute weapon. But anyway, make sure you YouTube him. Like, you'll never see tackling like it.
Beautiful.
Crazy.
Beautiful.
Nightmares.
All right, moving on. I think I'm passing it over to you.
All right, mate, listen, I want to talk to you about a couple of incidents that have happened over the last couple of weeks. The first one, now hear me out here, because you might initially think this is crazy what I'm saying, but as a current player, mate, and I'm not playing, I want your perspective on this. 2 weeks ago, we saw Grant Williams, the Springboks scrum half, get knocked out from a defending player coming through to try and charge the ball down, left the ground, left his feet, direct contact with the head. And that was it. He had to go off. I was watching the England-Wales game, and I was watching an incident where Dan Biggar put in a crossfield kick to Josh Adams on the wing. Now hear me out. This is where you're going to go. Josh Adams leaves the ground to catch the ball, and rightly so. Freddie Stewart, the England fullback, at the time was slightly out of position, realized he wasn't going to get to the ball. He turns, he runs towards Josh Adams, who has now left the ground. If you watch and this isn't me talking from an English perspective at all, this is me talking from a passionate rugby supporter's point of view. The initial contact of Josh Adams on Freddie Stewart was direct contact to the head. Then Freddie Stewart wraps his arms, brings him down. Now, yes, you can take into account the whole tackling in the air, which I get. It's never been a thing. Whereas the emphasis is always on the defending player. Okay, so again, we'll go back to Springboks game. The Argentinian fullback leaves the ground, direct contact with the head. Now we're switching the situation here. The attacking player has now left the ground. Initial contact directly to the head of Freddie Stewart. Now, Freddie Stewart is you can say somewhat made contact with him as well, but it was direct to the head, which then Freddie Stewart wraps his arms, goes down. Anyway, Liam Williams scores a try. I just want to know where the consistency is with attacking and defending players when it comes to, because if we look at the World Rugby law, I just screenshotted it here, 9/11, I think it is, dangerous play. Yep. Players must not do anything that is reckless or dangerous to others, including leading with the elbow or forearm or jumping into or over a tackler. Now, if Freddie Stewart was stood next to Josh Adams and they jump up together and he makes contact with the head with a knee, you could probably say that it would go to the TV replay, and there's contact to the head, maybe a penalty. My point is, and I'll let you speak now, my point is, as a defender, you need to have the self-awareness of not to make direct contact to a player's head. I get that, always has been the way. But I feel like in the flip side of that, you've got to have, I mean, it doesn't state it clearly, but the attacker's also got to have somewhat self-awareness to not make direct contact with a defender's head. Now, yes, the tackle in the air, whole situation argument, you can carry on, but the initial contact was to the head of Freddie Stewart. Now, what would be your take on what I've just said?
See, that's hard, because then, like, if I catch the ball, I can just be like hopping around everywhere. You know what I mean? Because then you're not allowed to tackle because I'm in the air technically.
Yep.
Which obviously you're not going to fucking do that. But then again, it's let's take it to when a 9 will play the props or the forwards right near the ruck, and they obviously going down low. It's like, well, then how do you tackle those guys if you're not allowed to tackle around the head? But a prop is catching the ball and tucking his head down to obviously low center of gravity to get to go through tackles. Like, how do you tackle that guy? So there's kind of a gray area around that as well. I think they need to come out. It needs to be more black and white. I think there's too many gray areas, because you've now brought up 2 instances, both very similar, but total opposite as well, because one was where the defender was the problem. And yes, the second one with the Josh Adams, they have said that Freddie Stewart's been the problem, but Josh Adams has jumped into him technically. You can look at it both ways. You know what I mean?
You're always going to jump and catch the ball. It's always been a thing. You're going to, and like you said, it's just I feel like it's a slightly gray area. Like, you can't make contact with the head as a defender. You shouldn't be able to make contact. If he jumps and he makes contact with the side of Freddie Stewart and Freddie, fine. But the fact is, it was direct contact with the head. And I'm not talking from an English perspective here. I'm talking from a rugby perspective.
My thing was just, I remember Freddie was looking at the ball, and then he ran. He was like, oh shit, this is going over my head.
Yes.
And as he ran to turn around, Josh Adams was already fucking jumped into him here.
Yeah.
Like, you talk about split seconds. Like, what must he then, like, does he have to then jump out of the way like that? And that's hard, because then he's going to go score.
Yeah.
So it's a tough, like, I'm glad I'm not in the position where I need to be making those rules, but I do think the higher ups that make these rules need to be more clearer on it and actually lay out, because there's been a couple of instances similar to these the past few years.
Yeah.
It must lay out, like, when something like this happens, this is what's happening afterwards. When something like this happens, because there's so many, like, in both of those situations, as I said before, they're both very similar, but they're both very different as well.
The outcome's the same. You know, it's the direct contact with the head, which is what I'm focusing on. And it's not, it doesn't say defender attacker. It just says you can't be reckless. And to me,
but then in the South Africa Argentina game, the ref said that was fine. It was only afterwards that he got red carded and got 2 weeks. So then it's like, well, what the fuck's going on here? If one ref thinks that that's fine, where he's then afterwards it's been looked at and he's been given a red card. Like, what was that ref seeing? Where we do have TV replays in play, there is TMOs that can go while play's happening. They can go back and look at things. How did 3 or 4 refs think that was fine?
Yeah.
So it's like
it's a huge gray area. I don't think Josh Adams did anything wrong. I keep saying I'm English. I support the English. I don't think, but when the point was brought up, I'm thinking, well, they've got a point. It was direct contact to the head. You can't be reckless. You can't make contact with anyone's head in this game. But also, you're going to jump to catch the ball. So for me, it just needs to be cleared up, because I would hate for a situation like this to happen, and then in a really important game. Like, I didn't even think about it. I just saw something after, and I was like, got a fair point. You got a fair point. And like you just said, mate, that example of props going low, you only have 1 point of impact, and that's
exactly. And it's his head. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think they just need to
push them down, but you can't really do that. If they're right near the line, they're going to score then.
It's almost like they need to make a rule if it's a scoring situation and they're jumping for the ball. Like, Josh Adams didn't mean to hit him in the head. I get that. And he jumped up, which was unreal, real athletic of him. And it was contact to head, but they're going to have to, I think, go, okay, well, in the act of scoring a try, if they jump and, you know, it shouldn't have to come down to this much detail, but if they jump in the act of scoring a try and they catch the ball cleanly and there's no intent, there's no eye contact to see where they're going, catch the ball, try, it's a try. It's just unfortunate. But it comes back to that whole wild rugby and, you know, protecting players and you know, injuries to the head and brain injuries that go and, you know, past and post your playing career. It's like, I feel like it just needs to be cleared up. It's not going to be, I don't think, prior to the World Cup, but I feel like it should be.
Not going to, but they definitely must, because it's then confusing for people that are kind of half into rugby, half not. They want to get into rugby. They see stuff like that, and it's like, well, what is the rule? Like 2 weeks ago, that was fine. It was play on when what happened with Grant Williams. Now this happens, and the guy gets yellow card or gets sent off. So it's like, well, fuck. Now I think no clue what the rule is.
I think from a rugby perspective, from people who've watched it for a long time, I didn't even notice it. I was a bit good leap, good catch, or he dropped the ball and then or whatever. It was a try. But when you look back and you see someone like that who really dissects that game and those moments, I'm like, he's got a fair point.
So has Josh Adams now got sided? No.
This is what I mean. This is exactly what I mean.
So Freddie got sent off, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got sent off. So nothing happened to Josh Williams. Yeah, because he's in the act of going for the ball. Like, it's
a hard one. This is what I'm saying. It's a tackle. They deemed it a tackle in the air, which it is. But if you actually slow it down, which I've seen, it is direct contact with the head. And then from there, like Freddie Stewart seems like he gets a bit dazed and wraps his arms and falls. And it's a tackle in the air. Every day of the week, it's a yellow card to me. But if you're going to break it down to like this whole concussion thing and head injuries,
he's jumped into his head. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Direct contact. My point is the initial point of contact was, I think it was almost hip straight to the head.
Yeah, and that was literally the Argentinian winger or fullback's hip.
Fullback.
It's Grant Williams in the head, and he got concussed. Yeah, and that's two. Yeah, and it's just who has the ball, which is kind of how.
That's why I said it's a strange one, because every day of the week I didn't even notice. I was like, good try, whatever, you know, like out jumped Freddie Stewart. He was out of position, but then I was like, oh, yeah, interesting. Yeah. This guy's got a point. So I don't think anyone really else picked up on it, but you know, I'd hate for a player in a situation in a big game go, hang on a minute, to the referee on the field. That was direct contact to the head. Where does this lie in terms of a tackled player when a defending player gets penalised and sent off or yellow carded every single time? So. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up because I thought when I saw it, I was like, this is really interesting because it's just now flipped from the traditional defender, you know, direct contact to the head or whatever. So it was an interesting point, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
There's going to be so many more of this in the World Cup as well. And again, it comes down to who's the TMO on the day. Like, did they wake up and get their coffee, and did they enjoy their coffee? Did they get their breakfast? Was their eggs runny or sunny side up? You know what I mean? Were they happy during the day? And that could change the whole fucking tournament. So super interesting. We will touch on quickly when we wrap this up, the Wallabies World Cup squad that's been released. Man, just again, once you think we know Eddie Jones, he just goes boom. Quade Cooper's left out. I mean, he's left out fucking. Who else is left out?
Hooper's out.
Yeah, Hooper's out. Samu's out. Oh, mate.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you a question, right? And it's literally a one-word question. Why?
Yeah. So like, there's the are we building to like? Because I'm pretty sure I saw in an article he said it might not work for them this World Cup, but when we host it 2027. But I'm like, the World Cup, and Sonny Bill said it perfectly. I don't agree with everything Sonny Bill says, but he said, yes, yes, it is good to blood youngsters and like for the World Cup in 2027, but there's also a now, and you need experienced players now to win a World Cup.
There's going to be that many players that are in that team retired from international rugby come the next World Cup. Like, that almost doesn't make any sense to me. Like, for me,
these guys going to this, I think they said, and I hope I'm not butchering it, there's like 30% of that squad hasn't won a test match.
Edwin just continuously
and no, like it's not fair on the players that are picked. Obviously, if you get picked, this is amazing. This is 100%. Awesome news. Like, you're representing your country, going to World Cup at the highest level. Like, this is the pinnacle of rugby union, and you're getting to do this. You're not like, if Eddie calls me and says you're playing and I'm an Aussie, fucking oath I'm going.
100%.
Nothing on the players that have been picked. It's just like, fuck, man. How can you leave some of these guys out?
You can't. We've touched on this in previous episodes about the 10s for the Wallabies. And who did we touch on last week? I can't remember. We were talking about the influence. I think it was Marcus Smith. And we talked about the influence of, maybe Danny Care or Ben Youngs now and Farrell outside him, calming him down in those moments of where it can be a little bit erratic. You've got two fresh 10s here for the Wallabies. You've got no one else in there who is going to play 10. You've left out one of the most exciting, but probably at this current time, one of the most grounded players compared to what he's been like in the past. He's really pulled his shit together and gone, okay, well, I'm serious. And now he's been left out. You Michael Hooper as well. I mean, I don't, mate. I'm never left speechless, but I can't see the logic behind this. And I'm just going to find what I wrote down here. So for me, I love Vunivalu. I love watching him play rugby league. Leave him out. I don't think he's really proved himself as such, right? And now you've got Callaway, you've got Pataya, and you've got Korobiti and Marky Mark, all wingers.
Yeah.
But you've left Cooper out, and you put Vunivalu in. So now all of a sudden you've got all these wingers. I mean, Pataya is a centre but can play on the wing. He's playing on the wing. He's in that squad as a potential winger. But you've left Cooper out, and you put Vunivalu in when you've already got all these options on the wing.
Yeah. And then he's put in Donaldson, who's played one game, I think, and then brought in a Josh. So Josh I think it's Kemeny, I think is how you say it. So he plays in for Rebels like flank, but because he's played sevens, he's put him down as a utility, and he said he's going to use him like in the wing, on wing or something. And it's like, fuck.
Has he used him on the wing though? Has he trialed this on the wing? Or?
No, because he hasn't played for the Wallabies yet. There's like 3 or 4 uncapped players that are going. So the halfback they've brought in from Western Force, uncapped. So this I'm pretty sure it's Kemeny. Uncapped. Shop, which is I think it's Blake Shop, the prop from Brumbies, I'm pretty sure. He's also uncapped. So it's just like, damn.
Hey, you put any position's hard, but you're going to chuck a prop in, an uncapped prop in a World Cup?
Yeah, fuck, that's tough, man.
I mean, I don't know. Like, shut up.
We know a lot about, like, we talk about forwards on here all the time. We know what there is to know about being a forward.
We know our stuff, mate.
But that level, I'm guessing from Super Rugby to international, that step up is big, man. And that's tough. Yeah.
It literally comes down to this, mate. The experience of Cooper and Hooper, you can't replicate that in any other way.
Yeah. But I'll have to look on. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, shout out to Will Skelton. I think he's been made captain for the World Cup as well.
Yes.
Like that's a massive achievement. He was in the UK for a while and played really well. He's been consistent over the last few years, but I think he went through a bit of a slump. He went to the UK and sort of really worked on himself. I think he dropped a few pounds as well, come back bigger and better than ever and fitter. So shout out to Will Skelton. But Eddie Jones, man, I have to, it has to be the point of bringing these players into the squad, post the squad leaving. It has to be. It's like Henry Slade has to be in the England team. I've spoken to my brother about this, mate. It's like he's so important in that team. Like, surely these guys are getting called up. Surely this is another media stunt from Edwin.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, I might look on Ladbrokes or Sports Bet and see what they're paying for these guys to eventually be
brought in.
Yeah, because it's
makes no sense.
Bound to happen. Man, if Carter Gordon goes down in the first game, like, what, are you going to throw a one-cap Wallaby in there to, like, hopefully win you again, like, World Cup? Oh, man.
Is this another media stunt? But listen, like you said,
he's done them, and I think he's run out of media stunts now. Fuck.
He never ceases to, surprise me. But like you just said, mate, shout out to the players that have got in there.
Absolutely.
You're never gonna say, nah, I can't be in there. Cooper deserves it. You're gonna take that opportunity. You're now played in a World Cup for your country. So big shout out to every player that's been selected. But I just don't understand some of this. Like, I haven't understood his game plan going into some games, his chat, the pressure he's putting himself and the players. I literally, when we, before this podcast, I was watching a video of the All Blacks players laughing at some of his media press conferences.
Right.
And now he does this. At squad selection, he leads up two of the most experienced players too,
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm lost for words, mate. I don't know what to say, but it could work. Eddie Jones, mate, it could just work.
Like, I'm going to say, I fucking hope it does. I hope it does. I hope he can like, in this World Cup even, turn around and be like, are you not entertained?
Mate, he might be your he might be the university coach next year if he doesn't get the results that he needs.
Yeah, it looks like it. But
far out.
Nah, good on him. Well, hopefully it works out for them, because, like you say, like we say always on this podcast, guys, we want the Wallabies to do well. We're not here
sort of.
Yes, not too well, not too well.
Not too well.
But that wraps up another week. We're getting closer to the World Cup, guys. We'll do a bit of World Cup stuff leading into that. I don't know if there's games. I haven't looked yet. If there's games, I haven't looked yet. But we'll definitely do some, like, World Cup moments and maybe dissect some of the pools, or maybe that'll be after the first round. And I was even thinking of potentially doing a live stream, like, while we were watching one game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That might be cool. Wicked. So we'll figure out something like that. Let us know in the comments if you guys will watch it, because we're not going to do it if no one's watching. But we might do it anyway, just to do it. Just
for the crack.
Yeah. Cool. Anything from your side?
Amazing.
Happy?
No, mate. Just looking forward to World Cup. Like you said, dissecting those pools is going to be interesting.
Yep.
I think some of those smaller nations, it'll be really. What I love about the World Cup is you get these smaller nations, players step up, and they were a nobody before. I say nobody with the greatest respect, and the nobody before, and then bang, after the World Cup, they're signed by this massive team, and they're in the limelight, and so that's what I enjoy. I love watching the established players, but these smaller nations that just go in and just wear their heart on their sleeve and give it 100%, and you see these superstars pop up. So I'm excited to do the podcast, mate, moving forward, especially while the World Cup is on, because there's going to be so much to talk about.
Absolutely. All right, guys.
Amazing.
And thank you all for watching, subscribing, all those fun and lovely things. And we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Bye, guys. Bye.